Okay, so today for the Athletic Mind Unleashed podcast, once again we have someone very special, someone who is doing something that I hadn't even heard about. So I had heard about some of the words, but I didn't really know what these words have embodied in them. And yeah, that's actually the word embodiment. And Anastasia here is embodiment coach. She's also a movement art therapy facilitator and a practitioner of something as foreign and strange as Tamalpa. So she's doing a lot of stuff, and I don't even know where to start because this woman is somebody who has multiple talents, multiple passions, and let's hear from her. Tell me, what do you actually
Well,
do every
yeah,
day?
I agree. Being multifaceted is definitely me. So I won't go into all the different parts of myself and all the different parts of services that I can provide. I'll focus on the one that you're putting in the title, embodiment coaching. So first of all, what embodiment is awareness of yourself inside of your own body, which is the shape we were brought in with to this planet, right? Especially today, most people are really taken over by the mind, which is extremely powerful. But if you think about it, the mind associated with an organ, yeah, and it's the brain. And where does the brain live? So there's no way
Body.
of escaping such a thing as the body, right? And again, the brain is powerful, but it is inside the body. Like if there was no such shape as the body, the brain would not exist. So, anyways, embodiment is
Hmm.
the awareness of the fact that you are a physical body and what's happening with it. And then embodiment coaching is coaching through not just words, which that takes place a little bit as well, but the rest is actually experiencing things with your body, with the breath, with observation and awareness of what's happening in your body, in your muscles, with physical sensations. That gives you the awareness of your current state as to where you are now. And that information gives you a chance to make a choice about whether you want to make changes to that state. And once you decide whether you want to make changes for the future or not, then we work on different tools to make those changes. And again, the tools, I'll just finish real quick. Again, the
Wow.
tools are also based on everything that's connected.
Yeah, I really love how you're also uplifting and appreciating the body because as an athlete, I really value the body a lot. And I think my identity also revolves a lot around the body. And I think at some point, or maybe even now in some circles, the body is sometimes demonized and the mind is very elevated, but we wouldn't get anywhere without the body. So I think, yeah, we do need both, but maybe very often the body is also overlooked, or maybe the body is only seen as something that gets us from point A to point B. And I think many people don't even have a good relationship with the body; they're just dragging it along. But I think what you are also doing is also about creating a better relationship
Yeah,
with your
that's
own body.
right.
Am I
It's
correct?
reminding you of the fact that you gotta have the relationship with the body and you can get information from it and certain insights and certain understanding of yourself from the body as much as from your mind. And I like how you mentioned this phrase of getting somewhere from A to B, you use the body, or sometimes you drag it behind you. And there's this expression also that says the body is a brain taxi, but do you really want to always have just one driver, just the brain? Like sometimes you can switch seats and you can let the body drive and the mind rest.
Yeah, because I also studied as a Mind Valley coach and I was in this hollow body program. And this also has this very holistic approach to the body. And we had this very powerful tool as well as body talk. So in this practice, we actually learned how to communicate with your own body, how to make promises to your body, apologize if you did something very cruel to your body, and have a better connection with the body. And I know that my teacher was also very often saying that for many people, the body is just something that is taking the head from one point to
Mhm.
another, like the brain taxi, kind of. But it doesn't have to be like this because, the body is with you all the time and you take it everywhere. So I think it's also very good to have this better relationship. And I'm very excited to go into the tools later on that actually help people. But before, I would even want to know, how did you get into all of this? Like, what is your backstory? What is your interest? What's driving you to do
Right.
all that stuff?
So I'll try to keep it short, but life is long. But when I was little, I was always connected with music and dance. I finished music school when I was little and started in regards to dancing with folk. And then as I was a teenager, it was ballroom dancing. And then as I was growing up and maturing, I started exploring other things. So there was yoga, of course. Then, of course, as well, this other side of physical training, which is going to the gym and participating in a triathlon once in my life, which is nothing competitive, but just for fun, and just exploring these different sides of embodiment. But over time, I was brought back to dance and the connection of that with the mind, actually, and how all of that brings you down deep into exploring yourself and your whole full on body mind system. And that's how I got into movement based expressive arts therapy at Tamalpa in California, the United States. That was a really deep program, and I got trained in doing that for other people. So I worked afterwards with groups versus one on one in that modality. And then I moved back to Europe, but here I started exploring again because there are a few things that are different here, in the East versus the West. And I always stayed curious. So I got into the coaching world because, again, in the modern world, being aware of yourself and taking care of yourself is still a bit of a new thing. It's very much developing, of course, which is great and wonderful to see, but it's still fresh. Yeah. And when people hear the word therapy, for example, what I'm trained in first is movement based expressive arts therapy. That's quite a strong word. It's also something that people are still
Yeah.
weary of, careful with, don't necessarily want to jump into. So coaching is a little lighter in the way that it's not only the description that's light, but also the fact that coaching works with the present
Hmm.
state and looking into the future as to how you change yourself versus therapy
Yeah.
is digging in the past. So that's how I made the switch, even though I still combine things from art therapeutic practices and different forms of expressive arts. It's not only drawing, but also movement, dance, voice work, performance ritual, and things like that. I combine those tidbits with the coaching tools, but still it's focused more in embodiment coaching. It's focused on the present moment and changing the future state.
Yeah, it's so true that therapy can sound like such a strong word, because I think for many people, therapy actually
Mhm.
implies, oh, there's something wrong with me and I need healing. And I think actually, okay, everybody needs some kind of healing, but it can still be scary to go into this process. So I think going into coaching, this is something positive. I'm looking into the future. I'm this optimist because I believe that a bright future is there for me. And that's why I think people are more willing to go into coaching, because they're working for the future self. They're not digging up the past and the past wounds. So maybe it's also easier to get into coaching. And I think I just heard maybe yesterday that coaching is like the second fastest growing business or industry as well. So people kind of need more
Mhm.
coaches and more guidance. And nowadays I think there's a coach for everything. So as an embodiment coach, who do you work with? What kind of
Well,
people?
in general, it's available for anyone. And I would say my focus and specialty is changing based on where I am and what times I'm in the environment, and also things that I go through, for example. So, again, it's a wide range of clientele and it's available for anyone with any simple or hard issues. But for example, right now, what I'm starting to focus on more is people with social anxiety because of this past trauma of COVID and many people getting behind the screen. staying at home more, working from home, etc. And all of that has advantages, of course, for many cases and scenarios in life. But at the same time, it's creating that side effect of social anxiety, of being less comfortable with being in front of people, etc. So that's one of my most recent focus right now.
So you kind of help people to feel more comfortable in their own bodies so they can also go out into the world and interact with
Exactly.
other people.
So they're capable and remember how to do it
Hmm.
not only over text or in front of the screen, which is still some sort of a boundary that you can maintain, but so that they remember how it feels to do it in person, face to face, and don't get uncomfortable.
Okay, I think this is very useful, especially in this modern world where many people are maybe working online and not really seeing people in real life. I think you were also
Exactly.
working
Yeah,
online.
it's also a perfect
Yeah.
example of everything that I was just talking about. I've always been pretty friendly with technology on a level that was just necessary. But then, even back in the States, when I lived there, I started moving around the country quite a bit. So, working online started becoming a bigger part of my life. And then also things changed, and I went back to Europe, where I am now. I'm based in Poland at the moment. But also, having a base is one thing, but you still
Hmm.
travel, and as you travel, you need to work. So pretty much everything I would say right now, 90% of the work I do is online. Definitely, there are clients that I meet with in person, and a lot of activities that I try to participate in, I prefer to do in person because I try to stay comfortable, to be in the shape of a human inside of a human society, which is not robots just yet. We're not all AI created just yet. So it's something that I try to keep going with. But yeah, I work online. That's true.
Do you find it easy to do it online?
I wouldn't say it's easy. Or definitely have to come up with a lot of different routines for yourself to stay embodied, to stay fresh, and to stay energized enough, and of course, stay healthy.
Hmm.
So that's quite a task. It's like another job, honestly, that you gotta think of
Oh,
nowadays.
wow. So you are also doing all this embodiment thing for your own sake, for your own body and for your own health. You also the same practice for your clients.
Gotta walk the talk, you know? You can't teach someone something that you don't practice.
Mhm.
So, of course, I do that for myself, first of all, and as much as possible in the current world and considering the geographical locations at different times. So, as I said, it's sometimes quite a task.
Mhm.
It's like another job, you know. You go looking for a new job, but you also go look for things to do in regards to embodiment and staying healthy and staying active. And it's not available in all the areas of the world, even though it's available. But when you can't
Hmm.
find something to do in community or for someone to guide you, then thankfully there are online tools that give you that information to do in your own space. For example, a hotel room you're staying in or an apartment or whatever. And you can follow a video or a podcast and do things following someone through the screen. And you know, you're doing it with your
Mhm.
own body. So it doesn't matter where you're getting the information, as long as you're actually moving your own body.
Yeah, it's like as you're working online, I think you can also reach more people in all corners of the world. Something stuck out for me from what you said. You said that in some places the things are not so accessible. But do you have any good examples in which countries, because you have also been all over the place, in which countries all these things more accessible? Where can people practice embodiment in the easiest way, for example?
Good question. I haven't been to all the countries of the world, and I wouldn't point out
Yeah.
certain countries. I would just say that in every country, it would be what you'd be looking for is a better developed city, like an urban area versus the countryside. My own example, I can say that when I try to go somewhere in a nature setting that I love a lot, that is very healing for me, that is a resource for me, that's a place where getting some embodiment practices from someone else or a community is a lot harder. So that's where you have to rely on your own practices, on your own creativity, on your own knowledge that you remember, and also stay disciplined in regards to actually doing things versus, oh, I have this on my schedule, I'm going to jump into this yoga studio or this gym or whatever, and then there's kind of no way out of this determination to do something. And when you're on your own, you have to be a lot more. To summarize that,
Mm.
in my
Yeah,
opinion,
true.
it would be more remote areas and less rural, where it's not that easy to find embodiment practices, and you have to have your own little toolbox ready.
Okay, so if somebody is more disciplined and can do stuff on their own, they can more likely live in the countryside. And somebody who needs more of this external motivation might find it easier when they're in this urban environment where all kinds of classes and everything is
Yes,
readily
I'll agree with
available.
that. And there's a little side note. If you're in a remote area that has Wi Fi, then you're totally fine.
Yeah. But I think some people just need to be in this physical class as well. Some people never do workouts at home, but I think it's also a personality thing and it's a mindset and how much you
Yeah,
actually
that's true
want
for
all
sure.
this.
Medical support is something to speak about and remember and keep in mind, and it's powerful. And definitely, some people need that as
Mhm.
motivation and as a huge part of their life. They just want to be socializing and being next to someone versus do another
Mhm.
thing online.
Yeah, true, true. So, how long have you been doing it
What
actually?
exactly? Embodiment coaching?
Embodiment coaching, yeah, this is the main
Okay.
topic for you
Specific
now.
modality I'm working with over the last 3 years.
Okay, that's quite a lot. Maybe you have some interesting examples of your clients, how this has worked for them and how this embodiment coaching has
Yes.
helped people.
So, one example I wanted to bring up is not necessarily a drastic, dramatic transformation, but why it's interesting is to give you guys perspective on the differences between something verbal based versus body based. So, I had this client come to me who is actually a verbal coach. I would say the regular title nowadays is life coach, yeah, but they talk to you, they motivate you through words, they guide you through the session using words. And he was interested in trying the embodiment coaching because the request he came with was actually being more comfortable with being seen, with being in front of people in person, and working with groups and individuals in order to develop his business. And he was working on scaling his business, which involves personal contact, but also not just conversation, but being, for example, in front of a big group of people, which is an embodiment experience which is quite overwhelming. It can be stressful, and that's what he wanted to work on through the body because just words won't get you far every single time.
And what kind of tools did you use
For
to help
example,
him?
in the first session, we worked with cycles. It would be a bit too long to explain, but, anyways, the basics are pretty much 4 cycles of the season: the spring, summer, fall, and winter, and how that fits into your life in regards to what you're doing right now. So, with his example, he was
Hmm.
trying or working on scaling his business, which you would associate with springtime. You already have a plan and you're starting to develop it, like flowers that are about to come out of the earth. I mean, the seeds that are sprouting into flowers or plants, and then they're going to grow throughout the summer. So that's one. And the other one, in regards to being comfortable, well, once you're outside of the soil, out of earth, and you sprouted out, and everyone can see you, and not only the sun is shining, but also other people looking at you. The next tool we worked with was the pose named Being Seen, and another title to it is Taking Up Space. So, being big, being
Mm.
visible, being comfortable with that. And that was the pose that we worked with to get him some new insight or information that was coming up for him at that time in regards to his requirements.
I know you said that it's not so drastic change, but I would say that it actually kind of sounds like a big one. Or if this allowed the coach to be more seen and more visible, I think this impact is actually quite big because he can now be in front of so many people. This goes as like a wave, like a ripple effect. And I think as a result, the message that this coach wants to bring to the world, it's gonna be spreading a
That's,
whole lot further because he just decided to step up and
yeah,
be
that's very
seen and
true.
take up
And
space.
our bodies emanate this information, which someone would call energy. If someone is not familiar with that terminology, but it's like the information you give out that others can sense and feel in their own body as well, right? And so for him to be
Hmm.
presenting his ideas or expanding his business, he needed to be emanating that to others, not only through words, but also his own energy. So yeah, it's definitely quite impactful and in the long run, a huge shift.
Yeah, and all the people that he's impacting are also going to impact other people, and I think at some point it will come back to you as well.
Also,
And now I'm actually very curious about the different tools and things that you use in your practice. You mentioned some poses, and you mentioned going into nature as a tool. So maybe you can share some of the tools or even show the audience how they can
yes,
be
so
in life.
I want to guide you guys through a couple different practices. And the first one we're gonna start with is the very basics. It's also gonna be kind of like homework for you. So let's try it now. And then you're gonna set up an alarm for yourself to do it every day, 5 times a day. But think about it. Do you wanna spend 1 minute on it now? Like 60 seconds.
Yes,
All
let's do
right.
the 60 seconds.
So that's a check in with yourself on 3 levels: physical, emotional, and mental. Just scan yourself, feel into your body mind system. Notice how you're feeling physically right now in this moment. Maybe
Should I share?
if
Can
you
I share what I'm
if you're
feeling?
do it out loud, but we
Yeah.
can practice that way and that'll be a great example for others. Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. I can be the example. So I'm feeling quite light in my body because I do intermittent fasting. I've been fasting for more than 16 hours right now, but it also feels good. And I can feel that I have energy. I feel quite sharp. I can feel that at some point I will want to stand up and move around again because I've been sitting for a little bit. I did go to yoga class and did some running in the morning, so I've already been active, but I feel that very soon my body will want to be active again. And it's okay. I want to be active very soon. I feel quite light and energized in my own body.
That's
And
great.
yeah,
And
it
see,
feels
you
quite good.
spent just 10, 15 seconds on it and got so much information. All right, so next
Yeah,
one
true.
would be the emotional state. What's going on in your heart? What kinds of feelings are around you right now?
I think I'm excited and happy and optimistic because today I'm having different goals like this podcast that we're doing, and then I have another goal, and then I have a third goal. So it's exciting, and I'm connecting with people, and this makes me happy because I also see how I'm making an impact in the
Great.
world. So yeah, I'm like
The highlight I heard there
tuned
is
in.
happy and energized. Yeah, that's great. And the
Hmm.
third
Yeah.
one would be your mental level. What's going on in your head? What are you thinking about? What are you preoccupied with?
I would say my mind is quite alert. I am thinking about the podcast, obviously, right now. I also want to get everything in that I want to be in this episode. So I think I'm also quite focused. I'm here with you right now. I'm not like wandering around in all other places, which very often happens to me, but I'm here and I'm listening
Great,
and
great.
focusing
So
on the work.
focus, wonderful. So we just did this
Hmm.
within, I mean, considering you were sharing maybe 2 minutes versus 1 minute, but if you guys are following and doing this on your own at the same time, just keep that information in mind, which possibly is going to initiate some changes. Maybe if you're feeling tired, you're going to go out for a walk or drink some more water to get hydrated and etc. So that information is allowing you to change your states. For example, you might have totally forgotten that you've been wanting to go to the bathroom for the last 3 hours. That's quite possible because you were so preoccupied with work, you had too many calls, someone keeps calling, and you're pretty much avoiding your body for a while for the sake of other priorities. And when you check in, you finally get to feel those things and do something about them.
Wow. So it's 5 times a day, and you check in on three different levels:
You
physically,
got it. Yes. So
emotionally,
just
and
take a
mentally.
minute to
Right.
scan, and if need be, make some changes right away. And the easiest way to start practicing this 5 times a day is set up an alarm on your phone. I know people do alarms for all kinds of things
Hmm.
these days. So as it goes off, that's a good reminder for you to spend 1 minute, 60 seconds on this real quick. So it's pretty easy to spend 5 minutes on your own body a day.
So does it matter the interval between these 5 times? Should it be, I don't know, always 3 hours apart, 2 hours apart? Can it
Yeah, it's
be
up to you to
completely
decide.
random?
You have your own life, your own responsibilities, you know your schedule best. But ideally, of course, evenly spaced out throughout the day so you don't disregard yourself for a really long period of time. Because, if you can hold yourself from going to the bathroom for 3 hours, you don't want to do that for 5 hours. Eventually, you're going to get really sick. So, yeah, maybe space them out evenly.
Okay,
That's
good.
right.
So that was tool number one. So what was the second? What's
So the
the
next
second
one,
one?
this one is named centering. Ideally, it's done with your eyes open, but if you're just starting embodiment practice for the first time in your life, you can definitely start this with your eyes closed. Maybe that makes you more comfortable or allows you to get into the body faster. So keep your eyes either closed or open.
Okay, I'm
All
gonna
right.
keep them open and let's see.
Just bring your attention to your feet and notice how flat they are on the surface, whether it's the floor or the grass, or maybe the soles of your shoes or slippers. Notice all your 5 toes, the temperature of your feet and the soles of your feet, the textures underneath them, hard or soft. And just notice your connection of the feet to the floor or the surface that they're on. And moving up, we're going to bring your attention to the belly. And here we're going to simply relax those muscles of the belly. No special breathing. We often hold those muscles really tight and forget about that. And we'll keep going up and bring our attention to your jaw. Again, it's another part of our body that's often really tight and we don't even realize that. So here on your breath out, try to let your bottom jaw fall. You might actually open your mouth, which is totally normal, and just let it hang there. And as we keep going up, keeping your feet connected, your belly relaxed, your bottom jaw relaxed. Imagine a string coming out of your head, from the top of your head, and someone's slightly pulling on that string. That's straightening out the back of your body, but the front of your body stays actually soft. And whenever you're ready, feel free to come out of this experience. And just to summarize this real quick,
Mm.
I did sort of a long version, but still a simple one. So, 3 things you focus on: you bring your attention to the feet, belly, jaw. And the reason to work towards doing this with your eyes open is to be able to do this scan real quickly in any place at any time. For example, you're on a tram or subway and there are people around you. Of course, you're not going to close your eyes and get into a meditation position and do this for 30 minutes. Yeah. So just standing there on the tram, you can do this scan real quick and bring yourself back to the body.
Yeah. And in what kind of situations would you
That's actually
recommend
a really
people
good
to do
question
it?
because centering can be down centering and up centering. So I want to clarify that this tool is not necessarily only for calming down, getting grounded, getting centered and focused, but it can also work to do up centering, meaning to liven yourself up. So, yes, bring yourself to the body, but
Hmm.
maybe get a little more energized or enlivened. So, tools for that would be, especially the last one I guided you through, is imagining that string that's pulling, that someone's pulling at, the string at the top of your head, and someone's pulling at it. So, it's straightening up and also energizing all your vitals that way. Another one you can do is actually a little bit of tapping with the tips of your fingers on the top of your head. So whoever's not watching and listening, just the tips of your fingers tapping on the top of your head a little bit, like 5 seconds. So that's something that would also energize you slightly.
Okay, good. So I think tapping is, I think it's this is like a Western or Eastern
Honestly, it's
practice.
not from any particular tradition. It's a combination of things and its own methodology.
Hmm. Nice. And I really like this distinction between down centering and also up centering because you can have different goals, coming into your body. And yeah, I really love this distinction.
Right,
Makes
yeah.
sense
I'll
quite a
just throw it
lot.
in real quick, not necessarily guide you through it step by step, but another couple things for upregulation would be, for example, even a different way of breathing. Like to calm down, you'd be breathing into your belly, but to awake yourself from kind of the middle of the day sleepy state, or if you're tired, etc., to enliven yourself, you can breathe into your chest. So, really strong breaths in, and then breathing out with your mouth open. So, something like,
Hmm.
and especially if you're a beginner, don't do
Yeah.
more than three because that'll make you dizzy. But as you keep working with this, it'll be something you can do even more than 3 times and feel the difference.
Wow. Yeah, I think this is especially useful in the
Yeah,
afternoon
I have that
for
hour
me.
in the day where I know I'm gonna start slouching down and falling asleep, and etc. And I need keep
Hmm.
those practices in mind.
Okay. And you also had a third
Right.
deeper
So
tool in
after
store
all
for us.
these check-ins and centering and grounding or up-centering, you might get so much information from your body that you realize, oh my God, I haven't been taking care of myself very much. I need to really give myself some space and some time. So, what I want to guide you guys through is a pose named self care, and that can be done standing or sitting. I'm actually standing now, so I'm going to show you that option. But if you're sitting on a chair,
Hmm.
you don't really need to get your legs involved in this practice. So, again, for those that are not watching but listening, I'm going to try to be as clear as possible. Going to be using our arms.
Hmm.
It doesn't really matter where you're going to put your left arm and where you're going to put your right arm in regards to which one you're going to start with. So I'm just going to say left hand is going to go on the right armpit. You can do the opposite if you need. And then our arm, I
Yeah.
mean, right arm is going to go on our left shoulder. Right arm over your chest. Right hand ends up on your left shoulder. And here, lean your head towards the shoulder that has the hand on. For me, it's the left shoulder, so I'm leaning my head towards the left. And once you're there, feel free to either close your eyes or lower your gaze to the floor or the desk in front of you. Settle in for a moment. As you're in there, sense into how familiar this state is for you. Familiar or unfamiliar?
I would say it's somewhere in the middle. It's not something that I do every day, but it feels comfortable and it feels natural
Okay,
as well.
great. So, fairly comfortable, somewhere in the middle comfortable.
Yeah.
So you covered both actually. It's pretty familiar and it's pretty comfortable. It's going to be the next question as to how comfortable
Mhm.
you feel here. And this is the disclaimer I'm going to put out there is that if anything feels quite painful, feel free to adjust your pose, of course. And
Okay.
as you're getting those insights and those pieces of information, think of where do you need more of this in your life? Where and when? Would you like to feel this way?
I can give an example. I think for me, I would need more of this with working because I tend to do a lot and not take really good care of myself. I teach other people to do self care and stuff, but sometimes I
Beautiful.
forget myself.
So the last question while you're
Thank
in
you.
the pose is how can you integrate this into your life?
As I said that I would need this more during the working hours, I would just maybe do the quick pose whenever I stand up from the desk to take a quick break, and I could just do it
Great,
maybe for a few seconds, even just to remind myself to take care of myself.
great.
It
Yeah.
is.
Thank you for sharing again, and we can start coming out of the pose slowly. Get comfortable again, being straight, and release your arms. And also notice as you're coming out of the pose, what's the feeling? Are you like, oh my god, I'm finally done with this? I couldn't wait to get out of this. Not only physically, but also emotionally and mentally. Or maybe vice versa. Oh my god, I wanted to stay there longer. I really needed more.
I would say grounded and balanced. That was just enough.
Well, thank you for practicing together. That's a pose that you can do for
Yay.
1 minute, holding it, I mean. Getting into it was quite detailed. It took a bit of time for us, but once you know how it's done and you're in it, spend 1 minute in this pose. That gives you that moment to be with yourself, to take care of yourself, as you mentioned, Celia, yourself, that once in a while you forget about it, and you can just do it for 1 minute.
Thank you for sharing this practice and reminding again how important self
Yes.
care is.
And one last thing I'm gonna share with you guys is another pose. It's actually named Yes Pose, which is about focusing on acceptance. And I'm just gonna adjust my camera so that you can see my legs as well. All right. So feet about shoulder width apart, not very far, not too close to each other. And the weight is going to be on your back leg. Again, doesn't matter which one is in the front, the right one or the left one, whatever's comfortable for you. But the weight on the back leg, as much as you can test this out and see if you can pick up the other leg from the floor without losing balance. Then the arms come out to the sides in this V pose. I mean, V letter to the floor, upside down V. And our palms are looking forward and not too straight in the elbows, not hyperextending that the muscles are tensing. Quite loose, but not bending too much. And the hands and arms eventually end up in front of your body. They're not anywhere in the back, they're not necessarily in parallel, they're in the front. And one last thing, to make sure that your chest and your shoulders are not really extended forward. Here the focus is on being relaxed in the back, not necessarily slouched down and rounded, but quite relaxed as in ready to hug someone. So this is pretty much like imagine a cute child or a cute dog running in your direction and you want to hug them. You're like, oh my god, come here, come here. So as you're here, notice how familiar or unfamiliar it is for you to say yes and accept what's coming towards you. Accept your own body, accept your own life, say yes to all the experiences ahead of you, and how comfortable or uncomfortable this state is in this pose.
I would say I'm pretty much in the yes mode right now, so for
Okay,
me it's
great.
comfortable.
And for someone who's got something different going on, where do you think you'd like more of a yes in your life? What do you want to say yes to? Are you saying yes enough?
I definitely am. Maybe even too
Okay, well,
much.
this is also a very interesting piece of information. Maybe you're saying yes too much, and that why losing too much energy. Maybe you need less of a yes.
Because by saying yes to maybe other people, I'm
Right.
saying no to myself. So to myself.
So we're looking at different sides of the spectrum here. And lastly, as you're staying in the pose, think of how you can integrate these insights into your life.
It comes
Okay?
back to self care and putting the priorities right and putting myself first and always considering, okay, what's the focus for this week, for this month, for me? And then like choosing the
Beautiful.
yes based.
And feel free to come out, maybe shake it out, especially if it's overwhelming in any way. And thanks again for trying all this out with us.
That is cool. I feel even happier than I was before. So thank you for these three
Yes, quite
easy
simple.
practices.
Obviously, I wasn't going to overwhelm you in the first hour. And it's something, again, something that is quite easy to utilize throughout your day under any circumstances, wherever you are
Mhm.
located, and it's not very time consuming.
And if somebody wants to work with you or know more about you, where
Right,
can people
so I'm
find
gonna
you?
put my website here in the chat for you.
I also put it like in the description, so you can just scroll down. If you're watching on YouTube, you can find it in the description, and also like on Spotify or any other podcast app, you will find the link
So
description,
on
like
my
notes.
website, you can find ways to contact me privately if you want to email me. Of course, book a session right from the website. But initially, I want to share a gift with you guys. As soon as you get there to the homepage, there's a guide on 3 tools to assess yourself in regards to life balance. They're a bit of a different
Hmm.
thing from each other, but at the same time, they tie in really well together. So it's great to do all 3, or maybe you would do just one for yourself. And that's a setup of tools to see where you're at, to see what your current state is right now in order
Mm.
to move forward. Because you can't really get anywhere unless you know where you're starting.
It's good to have a starting point and have some tools, and then go on
Exactly.
the
And that is
with
going to give you
yourself.
information to see what are the areas of life that I want to improve on, what action steps I want to take. And if you need support with that, you can contact me and we'll work on it through the body.
So thank you very much for opening up your world and bringing this new kind of practice that can be useful for anyone. And the thing is, it can actually be very useful for digital nomads or anybody who's always traveling because you are taken away from your familiar place, maybe a little bit, you're choosing to be outside your comfort zone, but I think it's very important to be connected to your body, especially when you're always traveling and always in these new places. And I think that if people are more connected to their own bodies, they can also have a healthier routine. They can sleep better, eat better, exercise, and do all the other things that are needed for a
You got it.
working, functioning
Yeah,
body.
you're anyways, thank you. You're right. And I hope people will keep those little tools in mind and especially use them when they're traveling.
Yeah. And I hope that you keep sharing your wisdom and being there for people because we need to be more connected to the bodies, especially in this world when we are very connected to the digital virtual world. And it seems like we are always plugged in, but it's like are you plugged into yourself, to your own being? So this is something to focus on. And I really appreciate that you are doing this and you are there for people,
Thank you
and
for having me.
that's amazing. Okay, thank you.